The phone buzzed violently on Emma's nightstand, its screen lighting up the dark room. Groggy, she reached for it and froze. A missed video call from Liam, but the thumbnail made her heart lurch. Liam wasn't alone. A woman sat beside him, leaning close, her hand grazing his shoulder. Emma's breath caught as her pulse thundered. She whispered, "No, no, that's not possible." The silence of the room screamed louder than her thoughts. She tried to convince herself it was a trick of the light, a mistake. Her trembling fingers hovered over the call button before pressing it. The call rang. No answer. Again. Still nothing. Emma's chest tightened as the seconds dragged by. Liam had promised he was alone tonight. Why was someone else there? As tears blurred her vision, the phone buzzed once more. A text from Liam. Just 4 chilling words glared back at her. "We need to talk." Emma stared at the text, her mind spiraling. "We need to talk." Those 4 words cut sharper than a blade. She dialed again, desperation in every movement. Still no answer. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Liam, please, pick up." Memories of their last call flooded back, his laughter, his promises. Now they felt like lies. She stumbled to the window, gazing at the distant city lights, feeling utterly alone. Her phone slipped from her hand, clattering on the floor, echoing through the empty room. The silence pressed down, suffocating her as she gasped for air. Emma closed her eyes, trying to erase the image of that woman beside Liam. She remembered the night he promised her forever, his voice tender, convincing. "No matter the distance, you're the only one," he'd said. The memory felt like a cruel joke now. Emma's chest ached with betrayal. She whispered to herself, was it all a lie? Her hands shook as she clutched a photo of them together, the edges worn from years of holding on. The silence was unbearable, broken only by the distant hum of the city below. Emma grabbed her phone again, frantically redialing, each unanswered ring twisting the knife deeper. "Liam, please, just tell me what's happening," she begged aloud, voice trembling. No reply. She texted him repeatedly, her words frantic, incoherent. The messages remained unread. She collapsed onto the bed, sobbing. Her body shook with every breath as she whispered, "I can't lose you, not like this." Outside, dawn began to creep through the blinds, but Emma felt trapped in endless night. As the first rays of morning lit the sky, Emma's phone buzzed again. She lunged for it, hope flickering in her chest. A single new message appeared. "We need to talk. Tonight." Emma's stomach twisted. Tonight felt like a lifetime away. Her hands gripped the phone so tightly, her knuckles turned white. She whispered, "Why wait? Why not now?" The screen went dark, leaving her alone with her fear. Her reflection stared back at her, hollow and haunted, as if even the morning light couldn't reach her. Emma sat on the edge of her bed, staring blankly at the phone on the nightstand. The sun had risen fully now, casting a pale golden glow across her cluttered room. She hadn't slept, her body heavy with exhaustion, her mind replaying the haunting image of Liam beside that woman. Clothes lay scattered across the floor, remnants of nights spent rushing to video calls, desperate to feel close to him. She picked up an old sweater, the one he once complimented, and pressed it to her face, breathing in the faint scent of laundry detergent mixed with memories. "You promised," she whispered to the empty room. Her voice cracked as the words left her lips. This room had become her prison and sanctuary, filled with laughter from countless late-night calls, and now, suffocating silence. Her phone buzzed again, but it wasn't Liam. Just a notification from an app she didn't care about. Emma flinched, then dropped the phone, curling into herself. She had built her world around waiting, believing that love could survive distance. Now that belief felt like a cruel joke. Her stomach twisted as she stared at a map on the wall, tracing the miles between them with trembling fingers, wondering if those miles had finally destroyed everything. Emma moved through her apartment like a ghost, every corner whispering reminders of Liam. The coffee mug he mailed her sat untouched on the counter, chipped on one side. a physical reminder of promises that felt hollow now. She traced the mug's rim, remembering the night he sent it, saying, "So you'll think of me every morning." Her chest ached at the memory. She opened the fridge, staring at the uneaten meals she'd prepared for video dinners they never shared. The loneliness weighed heavy, a silent monster lurking behind every gesture. Emma scrolled through old messages on her phone, searching for comfort, but each affectionate word felt like a lie now. She sat at the kitchen table, head in her hands, whispering, was any of it real? The clock ticked loudly, each second a reminder of the hours she spent waiting for his calls, rearranging her life around his schedule. She had skipped friends' outings, ignored her own dreams just to be available for him. The emptiness was suffocating, and for the first time, she wondered if Liam truly valued what she had sacrificed. Later that afternoon, Emma sat in the living room with her parents, their concerned expressions impossible to ignore. Her mother asked carefully, "Is everything okay between you and Liam?" Emma forced a tight smile, lying through clenched teeth. "We're fine, just busy." Her father exchanged a knowing glance with her mother, skepticism written on his face. They had never fully approved of her long-distance relationship, always reminding her how hard it would be. "You're giving up so much, Emma," her father said gently but firmly. "Are you sure he's doing the same for you?" The words stung, piercing through the fragile walls Emma had built around her hope. She turned away, focusing on the window instead of their judgmental eyes. They didn't understand what Liam meant to her, or the nights spent whispering to him across oceans. But as she sat in that room, the distance between her and her family felt smaller than the chasm growing between her and Liam. Emma excused herself quickly, retreating to her room, tears burning at the corners of her eyes. Emma called her best friend, Sarah, needing someone who wouldn't judge her. Sarah answered almost immediately, her voice warm and grounding. "Emma, you sound wrecked. What happened?" Emma hesitated, then poured out everything. The missed call, the shadowy woman beside Liam, the silence that followed. Sarah listened quietly before saying, "Emma, this isn't healthy. You've been holding on so tightly, and he's giving you scraps." Emma's breath caught at the blunt truth. "He loves me," she whispered, though her voice faltered. Sarah's sigh was heavy. "Does he show it?" "Love isn't just words, Em. It's showing up." Emma closed her eyes, the words hitting deep. She remembered all the nights Liam promised to visit and canceled at the last minute. Sarah's voice softened. "You deserve someone who chooses you every day, not someone you're constantly chasing." Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks as she murmured, "But I don't know how to let go." Sarah replied gently, "You don't have to let go yet. Just stop letting him hold all the power." As night fell, Emma sat alone, scrolling through old photos and videos of her and Liam. Laughter filled the clips, the two of them smiling like the world couldn't touch them. She played a video of Liam singing to her on her birthday, his voice warm and playful. For a moment, her heart ached with longing instead of anger. She whispered, "I miss you," as if he could hear. The memories felt like a lifeline, fragile and dangerous. Emma clutched her phone, replaying a moment when he'd said, "Distance means nothing when love is real." She wanted to believe that still, but the image of the mysterious woman haunted her. As the video ended, Emma's reflection appeared on the dark screen. Tired eyes, tear-streaked face, hope clinging desperately to a dream. She curled up on the couch, surrounded by silence, the weight of her sacrifices pressing down on her. She had given up so much for this love. Now she wondered if Liam had ever truly given her anything in return. Emma stared at her phone screen, calendar app open, the date circled in red. Liam's birthday. She had stayed up past midnight to call him, carefully wrapped a small gift weeks ago, and even baked a cake just to feel close to him. Midnight passed. No call came. She sent a cheerful happy birthday text and waited, smiling nervously at the phone, like a fool. Minutes became hours. By morning, still no reply. Emma's chest ached with disappointment. Finally, her phone buzzed at noon with a brief message, "Thanks, busy day." She stared at it, blinking back tears. No video call, no voice message, nothing. Just cold words on a glowing screen. She whispered to herself, "I stayed up all night for this." Her heart felt like a fragile glass that had been dropped, not shattered but cracked, the damage invisible yet devastating. For the first time, she felt like Liam wasn't just far away. He was slipping out of reach. That night, Emma paced her living room, phone pressed tightly to her ear. "Liam, you missed my call again. Where were you?" she demanded, her voice breaking. A long pause followed before Liam finally answered, "I told you, I've been busy." His tone was flat, detached. Emma's hands clenched into fists. "Busy doing what? You couldn't even video call me on your birthday," she shouted. He sighed, the sound heavy with irritation. "You're overreacting, Em. Not everything has to be a big deal." Emma's heart sank as anger and sadness collided. "It is a big deal to me," she said softly. Silence stretched across the miles between them, suffocating and endless. When he finally spoke, his voice was sharp. "I can't do this fight right now." The line went dead. Emma stared at the phone, stunned, her reflection on the dark screen mirroring the cracks forming inside her. Scrolling through social media the next day, Emma froze when she saw a photo tagged with Liam. He was at a crowded bar, smiling, arm draped casually around a woman she didn't recognize. Her heart pounded, bile rising in her throat. This was the same woman from the video call thumbnail. The caption read, "Fun night with the best crew." Emma's vision blurred with tears as she whispered, "Who is she?" Panic flooded her veins. She clicked through more photos, finding several of Liam with this woman, always close, always smiling. Memories of his excuses replayed in her mind like a cruel montage. He had told her he was working late, too tired to talk. Yet here he was, laughing with someone else. Doubt morphed into jealousy, then rage. Emma slammed her phone down, shaking. She whispered, "Tell me she's just a friend," though deep down, she feared the answer. Emma couldn't concentrate on anything. She replayed the images in her mind, each one more painful than the last. Every unanswered call, every cancelled plan now felt like a clue she had missed. She began checking Liam's social media obsessively, looking for signs, explanations, anything. The woman appeared in more posts, tagged with others who seemed to know Liam well. Emma's stomach churned with dread. She whispered, "Is she replacing me?" The apartment felt smaller, air thicker with each passing hour. Emma's paranoia grew as she imagined conversations between Liam and this stranger, private jokes, stolen moments she would never share. When her phone finally buzzed with a new message from Liam, she nearly dropped it. The text read, "Busy tonight, call you tomorrow." Emma's hands shook as anger flared. Tomorrow? She needed answers now. She texted back furiously, but the message stayed unread. The silence screamed louder than words. Days passed with Liam growing more distant. Calls were brief, rushed, and often interrupted. Emma clung to each one, desperate for scraps of connection. Tonight he answered with background noise, so loud she could barely hear him. "Where are you?" she asked, straining to listen. "Just out with friends," he said casually. Emma's chest tightened as she heard female laughter in the background, sharp and cutting. "Is she there?" Emma demanded, her voice trembling. A pause. "You're imagining things, Em," Liam said, tone defensive. "Stop making everything a problem." Tears burned Emma's eyes. "I just want to understand what's happening," she cried. "I told you, nothing's happening." Liam snapped. Then the line went dead. Emma sat frozen, phone slipping from her grasp. It felt like the miles between them weren't measured in distance anymore, but in lies. Emma sat on the edge of her bed late at night, staring blankly at her phone screen. She had scrolled endlessly through Liam's photos, desperate to find something that would explain everything. Her thumb froze on a new post. It wasn't tagged, but she recognized the background. Liam's apartment. A glass of wine sat on the table beside a half-eaten dinner for two. In the reflection of the wine glass, a blurry figure appeared, unmistakably the same woman from the earlier photos. Emma's breath caught, and her body went cold. Her mind screamed to deny it, to find another explanation. She zoomed in, shaking hands betraying her calm. There it was, proof that Liam hadn't been honest. A sob escaped her lips as she whispered, "Why, Liam? Why would you do this?" The image shattered the fragile hope she'd been clinging to. Her world tilted as realization settled like lead in her chest. Everything she believed about their love felt like a carefully constructed lie. Emma called Sarah, her hands shaking as she held the phone to her ear. Sarah answered immediately, worry evident in her voice. "Emma? What's wrong?" Emma struggled to speak through sobs. "Sarah, I saw her. She was at his apartment. I know she was there." Sarah's tone hardened with protective anger. "Are you sure? Maybe it's not what it looks like." Emma gasped, nearly shouting, "It is what it looks like. I can't keep pretending, Sarah." Sarah sighed deeply, her voice quieter now. "Emma, listen to me. You've been giving him everything, and he hasn't given you anything back. You need to think about what you deserve." Emma's tears flowed freely as she whispered, "I love him, Sarah. I don't know how to stop." Sarah's voice softened, thick with empathy. "Loving someone doesn't mean letting them break you. You have to choose yourself." Emma sat frozen, torn between love and truth, between holding on and walking away. As Emma wept, her gaze fell on a box beneath her bed. She dragged it out and opened it, revealing old letters, receipts, and souvenirs from her relationship with Liam. Among them was a receipt for a flight she had bought months ago, a ticket to visit him that she never used because Liam had canceled last minute. She remembered how she'd saved every dollar, skipping meals and extra shifts to afford that ticket. Her hands shook as she held it. She'd sacrificed so much for him. Time, money, even friendships. Every piece of herself she'd given now felt like it had been thrown away. Emma whispered bitterly, "I gave up everything, for nothing." The weight of her sacrifice pressed down on her like a physical force, making it hard to breathe. She realized Liam had never matched her effort, never fought for her the way she fought for him. The next day, Emma scrolled through Liam's social media again, determined to learn the truth. She noticed a comment under one of his posts, from the woman in the photos. The words were playful, teasing, like an inside joke. Emma's breath hitched. She clicked the woman's profile. Photo after photo showed her with Liam and his friends. In one picture, Liam's hand rested on the woman's back, intimate and casual. Emma's worst fears solidified. She whispered, "She's not just a friend." Her mind raced. Maybe the woman didn't even know about Emma. Maybe she was just living her life, oblivious to the pain she caused. Or maybe she knew and didn't care. The uncertainty gnawed at Emma's heart. She stared at the woman's smiling face and felt both rage and sorrow, unsure who truly held the blame, Liam, the woman, or herself for believing in him. That evening, Emma's phone buzzed. It was Liam, finally calling. Her hands trembled as she answered. "Liam," she breathed, her voice raw. "I saw everything. Stop lying to me." There was silence on the line. Then Liam's voice, low and strained. "Emma, I didn't want you to find out this way." Her heart pounded in her ears. "Find out what?" she demanded. He exhaled shakily. "I've been seeing someone here. It wasn't supposed to mean anything, but it did." Emma's breath left her body like a punch to the chest. She staggered back, gripping the edge of her dresser. "So all this time, while I waited, while I fought for us." Liam cut her off, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry, Em. I never meant to hurt you." Emma's tears fell silently as she whispered, "You didn't just hurt me, you destroyed me." Emma sat on the edge of her bed, clutching her phone so tightly, her knuckles turned white. She had spent the entire day replaying Liam's words, his admission echoing like a curse. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She dialed his number, her heart pounding violently. The call connected, and his tired voice came through. "Emma, Daddy, wait, you will leave." Just her name, soft and almost regretful. She inhaled sharply, her anger boiling beneath her grief. "We need to talk. No excuses this time," she said, her voice trembling but firm. A pause, then Liam replied, "I don't know what to say that will make this better." Emma's throat tightened. "Then, start with the truth." Silence stretched painfully, and Emma's chest ached as if her heart were physically breaking. "Please, Liam," she whispered, "don't make me beg to understand why you did this." His exhale was ragged, like he was on the edge of collapse. "I'll tell you everything," he said at last, face to face. The next evening, Emma sat alone at a small cafe near her apartment, her hands trembling as she clutched a mug of untouched coffee. She stared at the door, waiting for Liam. When he finally walked in, her breath caught. He looked the same: short, dark hair, fair skin, wearing a navy jacket, yet everything about him felt different. His eyes darted nervously, avoiding hers. Emma stood, her voice low but sharp. "Why did you do this to me?" Liam flinched as if struck. "Emma, he faltered, then sat across from her, hands clasped tightly. "I didn't plan for it to happen. I was lonely, and you were so far away." Emma's heart shattered anew. "I was lonely too, Liam, but I never betrayed you." His jaw clenched, shame darkening his expression. "I know. I'm sorry." Emma's laugh was bitter and hollow. "Sorry doesn't erase the months you lied to me." Her voice trembled, rising with each word. "I gave you everything." Emma's voice dropped to a whisper, sharp and cold. Was it her, the woman in all those photos? Liam's shoulders stiffened, his silence speaking louder than words. Emma's chest heaved as rage surged through her. "Answer me," she shouted, drawing glances from nearby tables. Liam swallowed hard. "Her name's Chloe," he admitted. She was there when you weren't." Emma's face crumpled, grief and fury colliding. "You let me believe we were okay while you were building a life with her." Liam shook his head desperately. "It wasn't like that. I was confused. I didn't mean to hurt you." Emma slammed her fist on the table. "You didn't mean to? You destroyed me, Liam. You turned me into a fool." Tears streamed down her face as she choked out, "I loved you more than you'll ever understand." Emma's breathing came in ragged gasps as the confrontation reached its breaking point. "I gave up friends, family, my dreams, all for you," she screamed. Liam's face twisted with guilt. "I never asked you to do that," he snapped back, his voice cracking. Emma recoiled, stunned. "You didn't have to ask, Liam. I wanted to fight for us, and you threw it away like it meant nothing." Liam slammed his hand on the table. "I'm sorry, I can't change what I did." The cafe fell silent around them, the tension thick and unrelenting. Emma stared at him, chest heaving, realization dawning that there was nothing left to save. Her voice dropped to a whisper, deadly calm. "You didn't just cheat, Liam. You ended us." She grabbed her bag and turned to leave. Liam's hand reached out desperately, but she pulled away, her tears blinding her as she stormed out the door into the cold night air. Emma stumbled down the street, her breath visible in the icy night air. Behind her, the cafe lights glowed faintly, like a world she no longer belonged to. She clutched her coat tightly around herself, her body trembling from both cold and heartbreak. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, Liam's name flashing across the screen. For a moment she stared at it, her tears blurring the glow. With a guttural sob, she let it fall to the ground, screen shattering on impact. Emma sank to her knees on the empty sidewalk, the sound of the city muffled by the roar of her own grief. Somewhere in the distance, laughter and music carried on, indifferent to her pain. She whispered into the cold night, "I can't do this anymore." For the first time, she felt utterly, devastatingly alone, as if the entire world had turned its back on her. Emma sat at the kitchen table the next morning, eyes swollen from a night without sleep. The world outside continued as if nothing had happened, sunlight streaming through the window, indifferent to her pain. Her parents sat across from her, silent but visibly concerned. Her mother reached out, placing a gentle hand on Emma's trembling one. "We heard you come in late," she said softly. Emma swallowed hard, unable to meet their gaze. "It's over," she whispered, her voice hoarse. Her father exhaled heavily, sadness and relief mingling in his eyes. "We just want you to be okay." Emma's tears welled up again, blurring her vision. "I don't know how to be okay without him," she admitted. Her mother's grip tightened. "You don't need him to be whole, Emma. You've always been stronger than you think." Emma's lips trembled as she nodded, finally letting herself collapse into her mother's arms, the first step toward healing, however painful. Later that day, Emma met Sarah at their favorite park bench. The crisp air carried the scent of autumn leaves, the world bustling around them, while Emma felt like she was standing still. Sarah pulled Emma into a fierce hug. "I'm so sorry," she murmured. Emma's voice cracked as she replied, "You were right. I just didn't want to believe it." Sarah pulled back, holding Emma's shoulders. "You've been carrying his weight for so long. It's time to start carrying yourself instead." Emma laughed weakly through her tears. "I don't even know who I am without him." Sarah's gaze was steady, unwavering. "You're Emma. You've survived heartbreak, distance, and betrayal. That makes you stronger than he ever was." Emma closed her eyes, letting Sarah's words sink in like sunlight, warming frozen ground. For the first time in weeks, she felt the faintest spark of hope. That evening, Emma returned to her apartment, now feeling like a stranger in her own space. Every corner held a memory. The mug Liam sent, the blanket they'd once shared during video calls, the map she'd used to count the miles between them. She moved slowly, gathering these items one by one. Her hands lingered on each object before setting it aside in a box. When she reached the photo of them together, her tears threatened to fall again. She whispered, "Goodbye," her voice soft but resolute, and placed it gently at the bottom of the box. The room looked emptier now, but also lighter, as though releasing these memories gave her back a piece of herself. Emma sank to the floor, wrapping her arms around her knees. The silence was still painful, but it no longer felt suffocating. It felt like a space where she could finally breathe. The next morning, Emma stood in front of the mirror. Her reflection stared back at her, tired eyes, pale cheeks, but a hint of determination beneath the sadness. She brushed her hair slowly, almost ritualistically, as if trying to comb away the remnants of who she had been. She chose clothes carefully, picking a soft white blouse and dark jeans, simple but empowering. As she slipped on her coat, she whispered to herself, "You can do this." Emma opened her window, letting the cool breeze rush in. It felt cleansing, like a reset. She took one deep breath, then grabbed her keys. Today wasn't about forgetting Liam. It was about remembering herself. The road ahead would be long, but for the first time, she felt like she was standing on her own 2 feet, ready to face the world. Emma walked through the city streets as the day came alive, cars honking, people bustling, life moving forward without pause. She carried the box of memories to a donation center, each step feeling like a small act of liberation. At the counter, she placed the box down and whispered to herself, "I don't need these anymore." The attendant smiled warmly, unaware of the weight behind the gesture. As Emma left, she paused on the sidewalk, tilting her face toward the sky. For the first time in a long while, she felt light. She wasn't fully healed, not yet, but she was free from the chains of waiting and hoping. Her heart still ached, but it beat steady and strong. She took a deep breath, whispered a final goodbye to the past, and walked toward the future with quiet courage. Emma sat alone on a park bench at dusk, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The evening air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of blooming flowers mixed with the distant hum of the city. Around her, life moved on. Joggers passed by, couples laughed, children played, but Emma felt suspended in time. She opened her phone, scrolling past Liam's old messages one last time. Each "I love you," each promise of forever felt like words from a stranger. Her chest tightened, but this time she didn't cry. Instead, she exhaled slowly, her breath visible in the cooling air. She whispered to herself, "It's over. I survived." The realization wasn't triumphant, but steady, like an anchor finally settling. Emma closed her eyes, letting the world blur around her as she sat still, ready to face life without Liam. Back in her apartment, Emma gathered the last remnants of her life with Liam. Old text screenshots, photos saved to her cloud, even recordings of their late-night calls. She scrolled through them slowly, her thumb hesitating over each memory before pressing delete. With every swipe, a piece of her past vanished. When the final photo disappeared, her phone screen went blank. Her reflection stared back at her in the dark screen, a woman bruised but not broken. Emma whispered, "Goodbye, Liam," her voice steady this time. She powered off the phone, set it on the table, and walked away without looking back. For the first time, she felt like she was no longer waiting for anyone to save her. She had saved herself. The next morning, Emma woke to silence. It was strange but not frightening anymore. She brewed herself coffee, the rich aroma filling her small kitchen. For the first time, she didn't check her phone, didn't wait for a message that would never come. She sat by the window, sipping slowly, watching people hurry past on the street below. It struck her how much of her life she had spent waiting, for calls, for visits, for love that was never fully given. She set the mug down and whispered, "No more waiting." The words felt solid, like a vow. She smiled faintly, realizing that this quiet wasn't emptiness. It was freedom. Emma walked through the bustling city streets later that day, the world alive with movement and noise. She passed couples holding hands, street vendors calling out, buses roaring past. It should have hurt to see so many reminders of love and connection. But instead, Emma felt strangely at peace. Each step she took felt like a promise to herself, a step away from the past and toward something new. She stopped briefly at a crosswalk, the city lights glowing around her. In the reflection of a nearby shop window, she saw herself not as the woman who had been abandoned, but as someone reborn. Emma whispered softly, "I'm free," and when the light turned green, she walked forward without hesitation. That night, Emma returned home and sat quietly by the window, the city lights twinkling below like distant stars. Her phone buzzed suddenly on the table. The name on the screen made her breath hitch. Liam. For a moment, time froze. She stared at it, heartbeat loud in her ears. Then, slowly, she turned the phone face down without answering. Emma whispered, "Not anymore," her voice calm, unshaken. She stood, walked to the window, and looked out at the vast world beyond her pain. As the phone continued to buzz behind her, Emma let out a deep, cleansing breath. In that moment, she knew she was free, and that she would never wait for his call again.